Rev it up and welcome to Karsia, show number 1325.
A girl who is given love and support can start to break the self-image that keeps her down. As she gains self-confidence, she sees she can learn. As she learns, she sees her own gifts. As she develops her gifts, she sees her own power. She can defend her own rights. This is what happens when you offer girls love, not hate. You lift their gaze, they gain their voice.
This is Karsia, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Karsia.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to be talking today with a guest calling in from my hometown, San Diego, California, Loxley Browne. Loxley, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
Cars, yes, I am, Mark. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Absolutely. Great to have you here. Loxley Browne is the driving force and executive director behind Athena Racing. She has taken her love for the automobile and combined it with her business acumen, marketing skills, and intense devotion to create Athena Racing. It is a serious platform from which to learn STEM principles that help open young minds to all the possibilities that lay before them. She works with young women who are primed to race towards the finish line and demolish the status quo. I love that. Loxley is a member of the San Diego Women in STEM ecosystem. She volunteers with the Veteran Museum and chairs the kidFUNfest, and she volunteers with the Jolla Concours, as well as TEDx in Southern California. So Loxley, I've told our listeners just a little bit about you. Would you take a brief moment and share a little more about your career and your passion for automobiles and helping young people get out on the track?
So thank you, Mark. My background started, I'm one of those young ladies who likes to demolish the status quo myself and have always chosen a career path that is a very male-dominated career. So in that, I've learned a lot about how to approach this and how to help break down the barriers and to assist other young ladies in doing so. My background in education and innovation and entrepreneurship is really what drove me to creating Athena Racing. It's basically the golden vortex of everything that I've worked on in my career, coming up through the construction and design industry, into marketing, teaching along the way, and now taking my love of cars and bringing that into it all and creating Athena. So I'm really hoping that your listeners will enjoy this story as we continue to talk about it. But it is my love and passion.
Yeah, it's really, really cool what you're doing. And real quickly, before we jump into this, would you explain to those listeners that aren't as familiar with STEM, S-T-E-M, as they should be, what that means?
So STEM education is the science, technology, engineering, and math sectors, which right now have a very low percentage of young ladies involved in that. That is one of the reasons why everyone is hearing about STEM education so much right now. We're really trying to open up those career paths to take that fear away from the young ladies who are graduating from high school and going into college and opening up career paths that they would have normally not thought about.
Yeah, this is near and dear to my heart because my wife Jill studied engineering. We met in school at UCSD there in San Diego County, beautiful campus. She was an engineering major and graduated with an engineering degree and worked for many years in that field, which was highly dominated by men. In fact, I believe when she graduated, she and a friend of hers were the only two women who graduated with engineering degrees that year. I'm not going to say how far back that was because she's probably looking at me right now and she'll go, Arr! But it was a little while ago. And working in that field dominated by men, she was met with a lot of challenges. She'd come home many nights a little frustrated with either how she was being treated or the environment that she was in, or if she was out in the field. She was a civil engineer. And if she was out in the field, how some people wouldn't take her seriously when she was designing tracks for new homes and roadways and bridges and all the fun stuff that she did. So I think this is really great what you're doing. And yeah, those fields do need more women. And even the automotive field, I'd love to see more women. I've tried to promote women as much as I can here on Karsia. I dedicated the entire month of March this year to women, all women in the automotive sector. So I think it's great what you're doing. And we're going to learn a lot more about this as we continue on your journey. But first, I want to ask you for a success quote or a mantra. This is a great way to get the inspirational tires smoking since we're talking about racing here on the track. So Loxley, take the wheel.
So this is from Melinda Gates in the book that she wrote called The Moment of Lift. A girl who is given love and support can start to break the self-image that keeps her down. As she gains self-confidence, she sees she can learn. As she learns, she sees her own gifts. As she develops her gifts, she sees her own power. She can defend her own rights. This is what happens when you offer girls love, not hate. You lift their gaze, they gain their voice.
I love this. Again, near and dear to my heart, because when my wife was in junior high, a teacher said to her, "You are really good at math." And Jill said, "I am?" And she said, "I never really thought about that." And nobody had really pushed her, promoted her. And her father in her high school years said, "You're so good at math, you should go into engineering," and really kind of gave her that nudge she needed to go into that field. Again, very male dominated, and she excelled in that field, did really, really well. What a great quote. I think that might be the longest quote I've ever had here on Karsia too, which is good. I'm trying to type real fast to copy that down, but I'm sure I can go back and listen again. But I think that's great. Obviously, you've taken that to heart and embraced that into what you're doing with Athena Racing. How have you tied that whole concept into what you built here? And we're going to go into Athena Racing a little more in depth, but I want to touch on her right now as it relates to that quote, because it was such a great quote.
Well, I really truly believe that when young ladies are on their trajectory, leaving high school, going into college in their career, when they have those mentors behind them that they can just ask questions of or can get some knowledge about a certain sector or anything that just opens their eyes. I'm working with a couple of young ladies right now that I just adore. They're brilliant. And me having my 25 years of career time under my belt, I can see opportunities that they have no clue exist. So when I'm talking to them about their passions and I'm, asking those questions that some would go, "Why are you asking a story about this or a story about that?" But that really opens them up and gives me more insight into what they want to become. And they might not necessarily know that, or they might have heard their parents talking about one track and they haven't thought about others. So a lot of the mentorship that I'm providing through Athena is just having the wisdom that I do and having the communication skills to open them up to find out what their really true passion is.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love this. Everything about it is fantastic. So cool. Well, let's go back into your history a little bit before we jump into more about Athena Racing and talk about a story that instigated your personal passion for cars. I know you love cars, you love racing, you love really cool machines that look great and go fast. So tell us a pivotal moment in your life when you knew that you were indeed a car gal.
So when I was a teenager, that lovely age of 12, I decided and announced it to the world.
I don't think I've ever heard that before. A teenager. Oh, that was a difficult time for me as a dad. I have to tell you, my wife helped me get through that.
I think it is for everyone involved. But that was when I became very headstrong and decided that I was going to become a designer. And I was looking through all of the books of all the great designs. And I was the only girl in drafting a design class. And I was one of the only girls that would go hang out in the auto shop class and watch the guys pull the cars apart. I have that engineering brain that just wants to see how everything is built. And when I saw that picture of a Porsche 911, I fell in love. I think that was the first time in my life I fell in love, was with a 911.
Cool.
And ever since then, that has been my one great true love, is a 911. So from that, I grew up and went to college, got my design degree, and then as my side time hobby, started racing in the SCCA. And from that point on, I was just absolutely and completely hooked.
Yeah, that's so cool. I share your passion. When I was a little boy in San Diego, there was a Porsche dealership, Alan Johnson Porsche. And Alan Johnson's actually been a guest here on Karsia. He still lives in San Diego County. He also raced cars, but he loved 911s. And my dad took me down to Alan Johnson Porsche, the first 911s that showed up on their showroom floor. And we got to take one for a test drive. And I'll never forget sitting in the passenger seat as my dad was driving that car and just thinking, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm going to have one of these someday. Yeah, definitely. I think they struck a chord. Well, you look at them, they're designed, they're still around 60 years later. They really haven't changed that much. And some people raise their eyebrows at that, but really, look, what other car looks the same from the mid-60s? You could maybe say the Mustang, maybe the Camaro with the new cars that have come back, but not too many other cars, right?
No, not really. I mean, the 911 has stayed true to its original design, which is why I love it.
It's absolutely brilliant. Love it. Well, let's take a look at some of the roads you've driven down, Loxley, and talk about a big challenge or a big failure that you faced along the way. And the reason I like this question is to help others who might be going through the same thing. It's a lot like what you're doing with mentoring and helping young women. So take me down the path, one that was a little bit of a struggle, maybe a huge struggle, and tell us how that experience helped you gain even more momentum as you move forward in your career and your business, in your life.
So I took off on my own and decided to enter the world of entrepreneurship. And as we all know, within a couple of years, the Great Recession hit. And I was one of those that just got bowled over by that. I never saw that coming, never expected that. And it took me on a completely different turn that I just had not foreseen. So after the dust settled, I decided to hit the reset button, and I took off on an 18-month volunteer sabbatical, and I traveled around the world through 5 different countries.
Wow.
That was the best thing I have ever done for me ever in my entire life. Like, it just completely reset me. I got out of my white bread American mindset. I saw the world through different eyes. I realized how nice it is to downsize and live very simply. And what I learned on that trip was to trust my gut, to believe in my abilities, and to go with the flow. So that really helped me on a spiritual, emotional, mental level, just, to get back to the true me. And everything that I had done in my career has now really helped me to build Athena Racing. From my experience through my 25 years in my career, from being able to hit the reset button, from being able to look at the world through new eyes, when I created this idea for Athena and started sharing it, everyone saw the vision. And I've worked in the startup world. I've worked in Silicon Valley. I understand what it's like to take a concept and run it through everything you have to do to create it into a business. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. And when I came up with the Athena concept and told a friend about it in the car on the way to have lunch with his buddies, and he looked at me and said, "Well, are you ready to pitch?" I looked at him and said, "I was born ready to pitch. Let's talk about this." So now the one thing I've learned is that when you have a passion, and it is a deep passion inside of you, and it just bursts out like sunshine, everyone else sees that, and they see the enthusiasm, and you're always investing in the person. Every person has an idea, but the person who truly has that enthusiasm that shines forth, those are the ones that you want to get behind and really help. And everyone's seeing that with Athena and how STEM education is going to help these young ladies and how these young ladies are going to help change the world in the future, because they're the ones we've got to invest in right now in order for our future in 15 to 20 years to be better.
Absolutely. I love this story in so many ways. Yeah, when the recession hit 07, 08, 09, I tell you, I have many, many, many hundreds of guests here on Karsia podcast that were dramatically affected by that in many, many ways. Some of them lost businesses. Some of them lost families, relationships, marriages. I mean, it just was a devastating time. But what I love about what you're sharing here is the fact that you did what you call a reset. And this is a really important point for people who have found themselves at a crossroads in their life and their career. Sometimes you just need to go away, get that gorilla out of your head, and see the world through a different light. And I love the way you said that. It gave you a reset. You came back. You simplified your life. You saw your life through the eyes of others. I think in the case of going to other countries, both my kids did some other country studies when they were in high school. They came back with such a different appreciation for what they have and for what they have here, but also for how different things can be and how they can see things through a different light. I think what you did was absolutely brilliant. Obviously, it proved to be good. At the time, it was probably scary as hell, right? It's
It
like,
was.
what am I doing? Yeah.
And I didn't realize that at the time. And I had so many friends
Yeah.
going, "You're so courageous." I'm like, "No, I'm just living life. This is what I'm supposed to do." And then I got back home and I'm like, wow, I just did all of that by myself on my own in 3 countries I had never been to before in my life. And I had no clue that it was it was going to turn out the way it did, but it did. I know.
Well, yeah. That's the importance of getting away from the norm, doing something different. It could even be during your day. You know, I always encourage people during the day, get up and do something different that you don't typically do. If you don't take a lunch and you eat at your desk, get up and go away, go out to lunch, go for a walk. I mean, just do something different. Go somewhere different in the evening, the weekend, go for a hike, do something different. It will change your perspective and it could have dramatic effects on your life down the road as it did Loxley. You might not have to go away for travel over 3 countries, but you know what? Go do that too, because you'll come back with a whole new appreciation for a lot of things, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Let's have a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
definitely. Let's have a little bit of fun and talk about your first really special vehicle and share a memory, if you would, about that ride that you have.
So my very first special car that I bought for myself was a 1988 Porsche 911 Carrera G50 Coupe.
What?
Was a beauty. I love that car. And you're talking to the farm girl who, when she turned 16, got a Ford Ranger to drive because it was just practical. And so after that, I was like, I don't want practical right now. I'm in my 20s. I want to get out there and really love and experience what I'm going to be driving. So I got my love, my 911. And it was a great car because I had spent I've been driving since I was 5. So I've spent my entire life driving automobiles that have an engine in the front. And to get a 911 with the air-cooled engine in the back was a completely different type of driving. So I pushed the limits and learned how to drive completely differently. And it was so much fun because I love pushing the rear end of a car around through a corner. And you can only do that with a couple of them. So
yeah, absolutely. That's cool. When I lived in San Diego, I had an 84 Carrera Cabriolet, Porsche 911. Mm-hmm. And that was my daily driver. I drive from Del Mar down to San Diego every day. And you know that corridor. It's worse now than it was back then, but it was always busy. Sometimes I'd cut over the coast and go up Torrey Pines Drive and enjoy the ocean or stop and drink a coffee and watch the dolphins and the waves before I headed to work. But those are awesome cars. Bulletproof, awesome, great cars. Yeah. My Porsche today is an 87. So still driving one of those air-cooled pusher cars, as you say, although this one is a turbo, so it's got a little more oomph to it. But definitely fun cars. Is there a seller's remorse story in your life, a car you've let go that you really wish you had back?
So the next car that I bought was a 1988 Mazda RX-7, the 10th anniversary edition. I didn't realize it at the time because I just didn't research it, but they only made 1,500 of those. So now, when I look back at it, I'm like, why did I let that car go? It was and it was so fun to drive. And it, of course, was the complete opposite of a 911 because it's, high-end torque and it's, front engine. So I went from one extreme to the other. But I really do regret letting that one go.
Yeah, very different kind of car. My mom bought one of those, and I thought, man, Mom, you're cool. That's pretty neat. What a cool car. So, great cars. Well, I would love for you to share a lot of what you had, or has you, I should say, excited and fired up about Athena Racing. Explain to our listeners here what this is all about, what you're doing with Athena Racing, what it means to you, and more importantly, what it means to these young women who are getting involved.
So the main purpose of Athena Racing, and if you think about it, each one of us has important women in our life, and we understand the importance of supporting young women. And I've read recently that there's belief that the next big Einstein, the next big inventor, is going to be a woman because that's such an untapped resource right now. The women in the STEM industries are the ones who are helping to create the new machines, the new engineering, the new ways of life. So in order to help get these young ladies prepared to become the next engineer, the next designer, they really need that support right now. And that is what Athena is all about. We're teaching the STEM education principles, but our delivery, the way that we get them excited, is through the cars and the racing. So that really gets them fired up to be able to see the principle that a teacher was talking about in math class or in science class, and then be able to take that on the track and practice it and prove it, and to be able to connect the dots from from what's in the textbook to real life. So the easiest way to give an analogy of Athena Racing is to think about it from the Boy Scouts, the Eagle Scouting, and the intense devotion and time that those young men spend becoming Eagle Scouts. We're going to be doing the same thing with Athena, and not only are the girls going to learn how to drive and how to wrench, we're also going to have another 8 education tracks that they'll be devoted to, which is safety, leadership, entrepreneurship, marketing, public speaking, photography, wellness, and etiquette. So with those 10 education tracks, we're going to help shape them into leaders. They're going to be focused on this with an Olympian-type mindset. And what we're creating is unheard of. We're very unique. We're very new. We are the first all-female auto racing team for this age. So we're going to be taking the juniors and seniors in high school and really helping them with their trajectory through college and into their career. And when you look at the stats that are out there, Formula One has been around for 69 years. Do you know the percentage of drivers who are women?
It's very, 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 very low.
0.06. Less than 1% of the drivers are women. So
I know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, we don't know if we're going to create the next great race car driver. And at 16 and 17, some say they're a little bit old to be out there starting a racing career. But what we are wanting to do, and what this is all about, is that we're going to create this class of young ladies who might become the next race car driver. They might become the next engineer who designs the new car, or they might be the artist who helps to design the body of that new car, or they might be the mechanic in the pit, or they might open up their own shop. But that's what we're really wanting, is to have this platform to help these young ladies open up new career paths that have never been open to them.
Yeah, fantastic. How can people learn more about Athena Racing? Do you have a website?
We do have a website. It's athenaracing.org. Okay. So they can check there. And we also have Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn too. So we're getting out there. We're starting to spread the news about this. And our first application are going to be opened up in August to accept our very first team of 10 young ladies for the 2019-2020 school season. So we will be interviewing in September and making the team announcements in September, and then getting started with a brand new team of young ladies.
Oh, how exciting. Everything about this is so cool. Well, this is really great. I encourage listeners out there that know a young woman who might be a great fit for this to check it out, athenaracing.org. Contact Loxley. We'll put contact information on her show notes page here on the Karsia website so that you can help steer, like that pun, a young woman
I like that.
into the right direction there. Very nicely. Well, Loxley, up next is the last lap. Before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Karsia sponsors. Everyone who knows me knows I'm really picky when it comes to my cars and keeping them looking new. I'm a huge fan of Covercraft floor mats. I've protected my vehicle with their products for decades. Want to keep your vehicle's interior looking new? It's easy with Covercraft floor mats. They will protect your vehicle's factory carpets from daily abuse, weather, pets, children, weekend adventures, and those everyday spills. It's a fast, easy, and stylish way to keep your vehicle looking new. Covercraft floor mats come in a wide variety of styles, materials, and configurations, all designed for maximum protection. In addition to Premier Plush and Berber custom floor mats, you'll also find cargo liners, canine cargo area liners, dash covers, and sunscreens. Enhance your vehicle's looks while protecting the factory finishes with easy-to-install and easy-to-clean floor mats. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. That's covercraft.com. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. Hey, Mark Green here from Cars Yeah. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? It's a weekly visit to some of my past Cars Yeah podcast guests, and I take you along for the ride. You go behind the garage door and into their lives, their businesses, and you get to see what makes them successful. With tens of millions of viewers, Cars Yeah TV is making its mark. Cars Yeah TV is available on MAV TV and Lucas Oil Racing TV. You'll find MAV TV on Direct TV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through Lucas Oil Racing Television online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. All right, Loxley, we are back, and I have a bit of an introspective question for you today. If you were a vehicle, if you were actually manifested into a vehicle, not what you want to be, but how you perceive yourself, what would Loxley be and why?
So I perceive myself as being the Tesla Model S.
Cool.
Because it's a very unique car. It's a very unique brand, and it's a story that challenges the status quo because Tesla is a youngster in the automotive industry. They've only been around for 16 years. Athena's a youngster in our industry, and we're unheard of and unique in the same way. And I have always been said that I am one of the most unique individuals that everyone meets. So because of that, I definitely see a lot of myself in a Tesla S, but I also love the fact that it's so smart and sexy and just ludicrous.
There you go. Ludicrous mode indeed that Loxley is on here. I love that. Okay. Well, Loxley, we are entering the last lap. This is a place you've been before on the track. The checkered flag is coming out, and I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some very quick blips of that Tesla throttle. You won't hear anything, but the power's there. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Learn how to do it yourself.
Great. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your many successes over the years?
Absolute belief in myself.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. How about a resource? There are so many great resources these days. Is there one you'd like to share?
My favorite, because of my love for Miatas, and that is what we're going to be racing, is monstermiata.com. They take out the engine and drop in a V8 and turn it into a little monster.
Yeah, that is so cool. I mean, you take a really fun car and just make it faster and more fun. I think it's cool. MonsterMiata.com. Now, if I could arrange for you to sit down and have a drink or a meal with anyone in the automotive industry, living or deceased, who would that individual be?
Right now, it would be the team at Mazda. I would really love to have a conversation with them.
I thought you'd maybe say Elon Musk, but I see why you're going down there to the... he'd be a cool one to have a meal with as well. Oh my gosh!
I would love to talk to him too. Yes,
I know. It's one of my goals is to he and Jay Leno. Those are two snipes I have to get on this podcast of mine. I'd love to have both those guys on the show. But I really admire what Elon has done over the years. Of course, he made it way too easy for me to buy and sell things on eBay through PayPal. But that's okay. A lot faster and easier than it was.
Okay, so when you go have that drink with him, be certain to invite me along, too. I'd love to shake his
definitely.
hand.
Yeah, I will. I'll give you a call. Yeah, if I can make that happen,
I'll be there.
You'll be the first one I call. I think it'd be great. How about a book? Is there a book you've read that you think our listeners would enjoy reading?
I have two, and I read them every year. The first one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I love everything that he says, especially you can achieve anything you conceive and believe. And my second is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's just knowing the difference between an asset and a liability.
Yeah, both great books. Absolutely. I think those are both books that should be mandatory reading in high school, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
Or at least the first year of college, just to kind of look at life ahead. But love both those books. You can find all these links that Loxley has shared with us on her very own Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Loxley. She's the only Loxley that's on the Cars Yeah website, Loxley, Browne with an E on the end, Brownie, just like my greenie. So check out Loxley's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. All right, we are up to the checkered flag here. That's another place you've seen many times on the track. And this last question could be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you any cool collector, toy car, whatever you'd like to park in your garage. but there's a couple rules to this game that might make it a challenge. One is you can't sell it to fund your business or buy a bunch of other toys with. You have to drive it. No garage queens allowed here on Karsia. And the toughest one here is it's the only one cool collector car you can have in your garage. So what can I buy you today, Loxley?
I would love what Enzo Ferrari is famously quoted as saying that he thought was the most beautiful car in the world, which is the Jaguar E-Type Roadster Series 1, a 1963, please.
Yeah, pretty darn nice. Oh, man, that's the car that started it all for me. My regular listeners know this about me. The first Matchbox by Lesney that my dad bought me was a Jaguar E-Type. It wasn't a Roadster. It was a coupe back then. I don't think they made a Roadster then. Mm-hmm. But still, that car just did something for me. First time I saw one, I just stood there in awe. It's just stunning car. Yeah. And I love the idea that Enzo Ferrari made that comment. Let me ask you this. What is it about the E-Type? Now, you've got a bit of a design background and an aesthetic for design and visual aptitude. What is it about the Jaguar E-Type that you find so appealing?
I just love the classic lines and the beauty to it. I mean, it's one of those bodies that you see a lot of other cars try to become, but they're not quite a Jaguar. And that one it's one of those designs that to me is just breathless. It can stand the test of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, here's an interesting thing for you listeners. Loxley, when I was having a little talk with Loxley before we started the show, I asked her about her name because I found it so unique. Share a little bit about the history of that name because it has a little tie in here with your passion for a British car.
Yes, it does. So I have grandparents who are very British and grew up reading a lot of the British folklore. And those of you who have read about Robin Hood know that he is Sir Robin of Loxley. So Loxley is actually a little town in England.
Cool. Yeah, there you go. Thus the Jaguar E-Type that you enjoy so much driving down the road. Just so I get it right, what color would you like that E-Type to be?
A British racing green, please.
Of course. Yeah, I figured a gal that likes to go fast on the track. So we'll make it so. Maybe with a biscuit hide might be kind of nice. So
yes.
I'll see what I can do here. Well, Loxley, you've taken me on an awesome ride today. I was so excited about talking to you about what you're doing with Athena Racing. I think it's absolutely wonderful, spectacular, brilliant in every way. I want to thank you for sharing your journey. And before I let you go, could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you rip off down that British roadway in your Jaguar E-Type?
Always have belief in yourself and your abilities for what you can do. Yeah, that is the one thing that no one can take away from you is your belief in yourself. So always go for it.
There you go. And again, what's the best way for our listeners to follow along with you and Athena Racing?
It is athenaracing.org.
Cool. I'll make sure I put a link to that on her show notes page. Check out what this lady is up to. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely brilliant. If you have a young woman in your life somewhere that you think would benefit from being associated with this organization, please get a hold of Loxley, connect with her, follow along on their Facebook, Instagram pages as well, and see the great things that are going to be happening here with Athena Racing. Loxley, thanks for being so generous today with your time and expertise and for sharing your experiences with me and the Karsia listeners. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp., member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Karsia. Drive on over to Karsia.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah!